Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our February FFA Center chat. I want to thank you for those of you who have joined us on the phone and can see it via your computer. Thanks so much for joining us. Today's chat is going to focus on the National Chapter Award. The biggest reason why I wanted us to focus on the National Chapter Award is because it is so different this year than it has been in previous years, and I didn't want anyone to wait till the last minute. Even if you waited till April 1 to open it up and start to look at it, in my opinion, that's too late to really have a full grasp of how it's changed. I know we put information out last fall indicating that it was different, but I thought it was appropriate if we spent some time today talking about the ways in which it was different. So what I have on my screen is my FFA.org website, and I have logged in, so I would encourage you to go ahead and log in to FFA.org. That's how you're going to get to your national chapter application itself, but it's also where you can find some very valuable pieces of information that I think are very helpful. So what I've done is logged into FFA.org. I've logged in, and I'm going to click on Participate. When I click on Participate, I'm going to go down to Awards and Degrees. Once I click on that, I'm going to click on National Chapter underneath that, and that brings me to this page where all of these National Chapter resources are available to all of you. And what I have found to be the most helpful is, especially when you're preparing your National Chapter Award application itself, is I have found the Form 2 example guide, which I have pulled up for us today to look at. The application ruling process is also another form that is very helpful that I have pulled up for us today. I've also opened up the division qualities and standards, which I think probably most of you, if you took a look at what we posted last fall, that's probably what you looked at. There is a PowerPoint available for you to look at, and I do have the PowerPoint opened up as well. And so I'm going to be using these national chapter resources that are located right here on the FFA.org page. And again, I logged into FFA.org. Once I logged in, then I clicked on Participate, went to National Chapter, and I have these resources available to us. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the PowerPoint that is on that website so that you can see that. And those pieces there, it tells you about chapter eligibility. It says to qualify, the chapter must complete at least 15 activities, one for each of the 5 quality standards in each of the 3 divisions, and meet the minimum requirements as outlined by National Quality FFA chapter standards. As you know, this growing leaders, building communities, and strengthening agriculture, those are new this year. Prior to this, we had chapter, community, and student development, and now we have growing leaders, building communities, and strengthening agriculture. You can see the divisions underneath that are still very similar to previous years: leadership, healthy lifestyle, scholarship, personal growth, and career success. Those are all under growing leaders, building communities, environmental, human resources, citizenship, stakeholder engagement, and economic development. Stakeholder engagement's a fun one. I know a lot of people have asked, what does that mean? And that means those people who have invested in your program or invested in ag education in your community, how do you engage or involve those people? And so this is just, I think, new language for not new friends, old friends, things that you've already done in many years past. So under strengthening agriculture, you have support group, chapter recruitment, safety, agriculture advocacy, and agriculture literacy. So that is obviously the first thing that we know is new about National Chapter. Now I'm hoping to many of you that that's not news to you. I'm hoping that many of you already realize that after seeing the information we posted last fall. But if that information is news to you, please take that in and be ready to see that as we open the National Chapter Award. It tells you here, how do I get to the where is the application located? How do I get to that? And the application, as we know, is on FFA.org, and we'll pull one of those up here in a little bit. And then there's 2 forms to compose the application. And those 2 forms, that's not different either, but how you get to those forms is different. And so we have Form 1, again, with the 15 descriptions of your activities. And then it comes from what you call your chapter's program of activities. There's a chapter assessment based on a rubric, and the chapter must meet minimum standards to gain access to Form 2. And so that's obviously very new and different from previous years. Previous years, you could go back and forth in between. You didn't have to complete everything in Form 1 and then have minimum standards in Form 1 to be able to access Form 2. So please know the biggest reason why we're doing today's FFA Center chat is to make sure everyone is aware of that and we bring that to everyone's attention. And then in Form 2, very similar, again, to previous years in the sense that it contains 3 activity write-ups, and there's photo pages for each division, and then there's a total of 9 activities. Some of those pieces are not new. It's just a new twist to this. So that is what that'll show us in the PowerPoint, and then in the PowerPoint it also shows us an example of Form 1. At this time, seeing this on your PowerPoint, what I'd like to do is then jump back over to FFA.org and then get into an actual application. So to do that, I'm going to go to my dashboard. Well, I can't see my dashboard very well here. Here we go. I'm going to click a state staff association. That's where I'm going to click. And then I'm going to try that again. Here, click open my dashboard. Just when you well, I'm having a little trouble there. So I'm going to try to get to my application center another way.
Find out.
Here we go. So I'm going to click on Application Center. When I go to Application Center, of course I tried this before I had all of you here online. I don't want to actually, I want to go to Application Center. So let me try to get back to that. I'm not sure why my screen's not showing that. Application Center. Bear with me as I get to that. I'm not sure why my view is so limited. Application Center. So under an Application Center, I'm going to click on that, and it'll give you your choices, and it should give you you know what? I'm going to start over. I'm not sure why it's not giving me access the way I had it before, so I'm just going to start again. I hope that none of you have similar challenges. Open my dashboard. Boy, it is giving me this view. It's strange. Okay.
Hey, Mindy, it's Tammy. Try logging out of FFA.org. Go to sign out next to your name. Go to sign out. Click on that. Now it should close and then go back in, and hopefully you'll get rid of all that. I don't know why it does that.
I don't know why it's doing that either. And of course I practiced this beforehand, and I'm having trouble now.
No, it still didn't.
No, it's still giving me this abbreviated view of my. That's better, a little bit better. Here we go.
There you go.
Here we go. So after you click on National or Application Center, you can see your National Chapter Award applications. Now, of course, having state access, I can get to anyone in the state, and I don't see that Monty Elvidge is on the line, but since I've talked to him about this multiple times, I'm confident that I can look at Lincoln Woods' National Chapter application. And for those of you who know him, you can tell him I said that. But so what I did is clicked on theirs. This is what you're going to see once you have started it and he has completed Form 1. If you haven't completed Form 1 and met your minimum standards, you're not going to see Growing Leaders, Building Communities, Strengthening Ag. So that's just something I want to bring to everyone's attention. When you open it up, you're not going to see that until you've completed that piece. So as you assign students, this is where Monty assigned to his students who was going to work on the National Chapter application, and he gave them access to do so. If you have a student who's not pulling the weight, you can remove that access, or you can add students to this process. And you can see how you add students to the process. You're going to pick your student and then click on Save. So the cover page is very similar to a state degree or American degree application. You're going to put in your pertinent information here, and actually that should all drop in there from after you've completed your roster, and you can put your numbers in here for unduplicated students, total FFA membership, and number in high school FFA members. Then you'll get into, and this is the document we were talking about before, this is where you put in your 15 activities. You have your growing leaders activities, obviously at the top, your building communities, and this is how that application will look. As you can see, they have completed their Form 1 process. We can go and open up a blank one here in a little bit for anyone who would like to look at that. So to continue on to get those points that we talked about, getting the points, you need full descriptions. So you need a complete and full description taking up all 3 lines and describing that activity. That helps you earn those points, as well as completing all this indicator piece, indicating how many students participated. The students build a progressive leadership and personal development plan. You have to go in and answer all of these indicators. Those indicators help earn those points for you to qualify for Form 2. And so we can see how he has completed his indicator page, and then Form 1 summary. So an activity is described for all 15 quality standards. 15 were there. It says met. At least 51 points are attained from the indicators, the national quality FFA standards. They've got a 62, so that's met. Because he is over that 51 points, then he can qualify to open up Form 2. So again, that's a new piece to the National Chapter Award that we wanted to make sure we brought to everyone's attention. I can go back and I can just, I would imagine, I'll open this Illinois Association. This one is ours, Illinois Association FFA. You can see our cover page. It has information there. And again, because I have not completed Form 1 activities, indicator, or summary, I cannot get to those. I can't get to Form 2 yet because I don't have any points placed in any of my areas yet. So if yours looks like this, it's because you haven't started. And you cannot get to Form 2 until you've completed Form 1 and earned that number of points. Sometimes a popular question is that something that National FFA is opening to changing? At this point, based on conversations that we've had with National FFA, I do not anticipate that'll change. I anticipate that they will continue with Form 1 being complete and filled out before you can qualify for Form 2. Before I move into showing you some of the examples and guides from National FFA, are there any questions about accessing your National Chapter Award, how you get access to Form 2, or filling out Form 1? You can ask questions either via the phone call or there is the chat bubble. If you click on the chat bubble and type in your question, I will keep an eye on that and answer your question as we go along. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, so one of the documents that I feel like is very helpful, this is a document that I showed you you could get to on the front of FFA.org under National Chapter. This is a 15-page document, and this is one that you should have started looking at last fall because it gave you all the steps in planning for your activities and how you should write about those activities and how you should put them in their place. This 15-page document, as I said, is a really good tool to use when you're starting out, but can also be very good for trying to figure out how to write about your activities. This is a guide that gives you the timeline to how to develop your National Chapter Award or your program of activities. It gives you this organizing timeline by calendar schedule. It gives you a real nice base to get yourself started on. So it gives you the plan, it gives you the development piece, and then it also pulls pieces. So you can see Appendix B, it's pulling pieces from the handbook. There is a National Chapter Award handbook that's back here on, where's my FFA.org, but I'm still logged in here, but it's back there on FFA.org. So this is an excellent piece to help get you through how all those pieces work on the National Chapter Award. But the one that I found to be most helpful in giving you an idea of how to describe and how to get the most possible points is the National Chapter Form 2 Example Guide. This example guide, as I went to a workshop with National FFA, I thought was the most helpful and would be the most beneficial to show teachers, because it's cut and dry, telling you right here. For the activity description, if the description clearly explains the purpose and the reason the chapter is implementing the activity, what is the purpose of the activity, and why is the activity taking place? And I mean, it's essentially telling you, if you have one line of words, you're not going to get points. You need to, they're saying it takes at least 3 lines to fully describe it to get high points. And midpoint is vaguely describing it. So now there are some of you who are people of few words and think you can get your description in 2 sentences. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying that you can't clearly explain the purpose and the reason the chapter is implementing the activity, or what the purpose is, or why the activity is taking place. I think if you're few words and you can get it done in 2 sentences, that's fine. But understand that they are looking for a full and complete description, and in their opinion, a full and complete description will take at least 2 or 3 sentences to make that message get conveyed. So I felt like this was a very good guide in letting you know 1 word or 1 line answers really aren't going to get you points. And making vague statements. So here with the goals are well written and utilize all components of a SMART goal. SMART meaning specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time. So it tells you FFA members will post 600 positive messages around the ag building to help promote positive self-esteem by January 31st, 2019. So it's giving you a timeline. It's giving you a measurable. It tells you specifically who's doing it and what they're doing. Is it attainable? We'll find out did you hit that 600 or not. But it was very specific, and it hits all of those pieces. If you just say FFA members will post positive messages, you're going to get low points because you're not telling me, well, how many positive messages and who's doing it and when they're doing it and how they're doing it. It is really asking for you to give specifics. So I felt like this example guide was a very helpful tool in helping describe this. To me, this is something you can print off to your students, show your students, tell your students to go to this page and get an idea of how to describe an activity. It goes through that with everything. It goes through that with the plan of action. What is something in a plan of action that gives you high points? What is something in a plan of action that gives you middle-of-the-road points? What is something that's guaranteed going to be low points? And you can see a plan of action, they use bullet points or they use a paragraph descriptor. Something else that I have noticed in some successful applications, when they use bullet points, they also might capitalize a word in full, like goal attained or goal reached, and then they talk about the number of those that hit that goal. You can see there's varying ways under high points to get the plan of action. This one used numbers instead of bullet points, but you could use bullet points or numbers, paragraph descriptions. They put in their description on January 8th, 2019, Healthy Lifestyle Committee members, and then you list who those members are, will meet to make, or you list who in parentheses, either way, depending upon how many members you've got, because you are limited on words, who will meet to make the display poster and write, and then how they're going to accomplish it. So in those parentheses, they're saying, here's who, here's how, here's what, when, and here's where. And that is making it very clear how the goal was reached. And it makes it also very clear that this was our plan of action. We thought it through. So you can see what you do for midpoint. They gave examples of that. And then, of course, they gave examples for low points. Again, to me, this was the most helpful tool of all the tools that were brought to our attention. Does anybody have any questions about this guide? Again, how to get to that, and I'll just jump there in case somebody joined us late. When you go to FFA.org, I'm already signed in. I clicked on Participate. I went to Awards and Degrees. I clicked on National Chapter, and then down here on the side over here you can see Form 2 Example Guide. That's what I clicked on, and that's where I got all of those examples that I was just talking to you about. So I already had it open on my screen for us to talk about, but I do think this is probably the one that makes the quickest reference for teachers. And the FFA Center chat is not only to bring you all to your attention, but also to try to make it as quickly for you and your students to acclimate yourself to the new National Chapter Award. Outcome evaluated and reported. Again, with high points, they said goal 1, we exceeded our goal. Bulletin boards in school were used to display notes for students to take over 650. That gave us accurate number of how many actual positive messages were conveyed. Again, when you're saying that we're evaluating it and we're reporting it, you are reporting that specific number, who or how many, who did it. As more detail as you can provide in your descriptions, the higher points you're going to get. And then it continues to go on to give examples for advancing leaders, community, and agriculture, and impact. And again, giving you very specific examples of how to reach high points, how to get low points. A one sentence or a one-word response is not going to give us very much detail. So I think that's something that we want everyone to take in consideration. Same way with photo captions. It gives you examples of how to provide what information needs to be provided in a caption. And in this link, it'll take you, you can click on here, it'll take you to pages 39 and 40 in the handbook for more information about photos and photo captions. So all of this is to me a one-stop shop for a really helpful tool in completing the national chapter. And again, it's found under FFA.org, down under Form 2 Example Guide. Again, that is the one I felt to be most beneficial and quickly referenced by students and teachers to get yourself moving through Form 2. And here is an example that they provided to you. So if you were wanting your students to see an example of healthy lifestyles, here is a positive example. And you can see when I talked about words being capitalized, we exceeded our goal. And then you talk about how you exceeded that goal. And as you can see, you see very specific numbers listed, and you see who did it and what they did, and as it's been told before up in the plan of action, when they did it. And so all of these things are key components to high scores for the National Chapter Award. So one of the other questions, we talk about high scores. I know there's some chapters that are just interested in receiving incentive funding grants credits, and we will have an online form that a school just has to click here. They list their name in the form, and then we will have that list to reference against all of the National Chapter applications that come in. So the question to me was, can you list an activity in Form 1 and then use it as an activity in Form 2? So when we go down here to the National Chapter Award, I want to make sure that we are clear and we're letting teachers know this, what's in the application. And there, as it tells you, there are 2 forms, and it says this. Oh, where am I at? I lost my question. Okay, I clicked on the wrong page. Okay, so this is where I wanted to answer some questions about how you get points deducted. And this is, I think, very important because, again, when you are wanting to score well, that's sometimes what you want to know. So the question is, to answer the question that came to me is replication of an activity within Form 2. Can you use an activity in Form 1? In Form 2, yes. Actually, you're supposed to. You're supposed to pick your activities from that you want to highlight in Form 2. But if you have 2 of the same activities within Form 2, then you get points deducted. And an activity that's out of date, you can see how many points you lose each time. Multiple activities within Form 2, 25-point deduction. So that means if you're saying it's in building communities and it's in strengthening agriculture, you're going to lose 25 points. So you can't have the same activity in each of your 3 areas. You can't have any activity duplicate itself in Form 2. There need to be 9 separate, completely separate activities. So you cannot replicate activities within that Form 2. And so this is where, if you do, this is where you begin to lose all those points. So replication of an activity, activity date out of range, multiple activities in one within Form 2, collaborative activity replication, duplication of quality standard within Form 2. So that's another thing that's very important. You have to pick the quality standard. Let me go back to an actual live application. So when I'm in Growing Leaders, I have to pick the quality standard that I'm hitting and I'm saying that this activity, chapter leadership program that I'm doing, that's the name of my activity, I'm saying it hit that. So under growing leaders, I can't say it's leadership again. I need to say that it's either healthy lifestyle, scholarship, personal growth, or career success. And under activity 3, I need to say it's healthy lifestyle, scholarship, personal growth, or career success. If I said number 2 was career success, I couldn't use it again, okay? So that's very important. That's a way in which you'll lose points. And I think this document is helpful. This document is also found under FFA.org. Go to awards and go down to national chapter, and then you'll say application ruling process. That document is right there. It'll tell you exactly, well, how am I losing points? You're losing points if you duplicate any activities within 2. If you're losing points if you duplicate a quality standard within Form 2. If the quality standard is not marked, you lose 25 points. If there's collage pictures on the photo pages, multiple pictures on one page, you'll get 0 points for that section. 1 picture, 1 photo is all they're asking. Incorrect year on the application. Application will be ranked as a participant. This is national standards. So we're not going to let this get through to national because we want our national chapters to do very, very well. Missing application pages in Form 1. So if you're missing application pages, this is the policy they say. Contact the advisor and state staff with deadline to respond. If no response is received, the deadline application will be ranked participant. That's the process they'll follow if they're missing any pages when they get it from our state. So you can see that we're going to try to follow the same exact process here. Not certified or declared by the deadline. Applicant will be ranked participant. Version numbers differ throughout the application. They will be ranked participant. So when you say version number, what does that mean? Back here on this chapter number, when you get ready to print, you click on Print Application. It'll say Complete Application. I'm going to click on that button. It's going to generate this PDF. I'm going to open the PDF, and here's my National Chapter Award, and you're going to see my version number right down here at the bottom of the page. This version number is 432512. The version number needs to be the same on every page when it's turned into Illinois and into national. You will lose points, just like it says. Where's my point page? There's my point page. It will be ranked participant. It won't even get the opportunity to be ranked gold, silver, bronze. It has to be.
Hey, Mindy?
Those pages the same. Yes.
Hey, so that means if you find a mistake on your application, you reprint the entire 22 pages. Is that right?
To be turned into National FFA, yes.
Are we going to follow the same thing, judging the state?
I think state we can be more lenient on, but for us to send it to nationals, it's going to have to match because I don't want somebody just to get bumped out to be participant.
Right.
And the nice thing is with us, with state, is you don't have to turn in the paper copy to us. You're just sending us the PDF. So that'll kind of solve that problem for the state. We're not even going to ask the version number for state because you're just going to be looking at the PDF. So that's a good question, though. But for national, what we'll do, so that's you're bringing me to a very good point. Jeff, that is right. Jeff Meyerhofer, do I recognize that voice?
Who's Jeff Meyerhofer? Never heard of him.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So what we'll do with the state is you're going to save it to a PDF, and as long as it's emailed to the email address we provide, which will be our intern email address, it'll be student worker, it'll all drop into one folder. The student worker will organize it in folders, Section 1, District 1, Section 6, District 2, that type of thing. They'll get them organized in folders, and then our judges will be looking at the PDF, judging online, filling out the Form 1 ranking sheet and the Form 2 ranking sheet. But to be for national, so then we'll contact we'll send out post-state results, and then we'll contact our 30 or 32 that get to go to nationals. We will ask them to bring their printed and signed copies to state convention, and then those all have to have the matching version number on it. So in your world, Jeff, yeah, you're not going to print anything until you bring it to us, the state, unless you're just printing it to proof it in your building, and that doesn't matter anyway. Good question. So what should the print date range be? So I'm thinking that the print date range should be, I have to look that up. I'm thinking from past years it's been April 1 to March 31st, but I will need to look that up, and I'll just have to check that, and then I'll put that in the listserv.
Mindy, I think in the past, as long as it was a year, there really was a specific date.
Yeah, but I'm going to need to look and see what nationals want for their range. So, you're right. I think it's as long as it's within that school year is what we've always said. But I want to make sure that we're not violating anything that nationals request.
Sure.
Yeah, Mindy, this is Larry Ghostin.
Hey, Larry, thank you for being on. This is great. There's the expert right there.
Hi, Larry.
Hi. So there isn't a set date range for nationals as long as the state approves any dates, as long as it's a 12-month calendar year. Starts April 1, ends March 31st would be great. Starts January 1st, ends December 31st. It's whatever works for the chapter and the state. And then make sure that those pictures and all activities also fall within that date range.
Within those ranges. Thank you, Larry. That's good. So I don't have to check that with national. And so I think you're right, Jeff. I think as long as it's within the school year, we said that was fine. Good question. So we have, according to my watch, just a couple minutes left on the FFA Center chat. I do want to go back to the FFA.org website because there's other really good tools here. As I said, there's the handbook, the complete and total absolute guide to this, what we posted last fall for the National Chapter Award. Huge document, 50 pages, 49 pages, but that's how you want to get your officers started. The application ruling process, that's the one where I showed you lose points. And I know that's, for some of you, you just want to cut to the chase. Okay, Mindy, tell me how I'm going to lose points. I showed you that document. I think that's very helpful. The Form 2 example guide. Again, I feel like that's the one where at this stage in the game, because we're sitting on March 1st essentially, you have 6 weeks to get this done. This is what you want to show your students and tell them this is how we want to move through and be very accurate, very descriptive in our Form 2. Other tools that are here, as I've said, the Division in Quality Standards, that gives you example activities. So if you haven't already done your activities, which I think at this point of the year you already have, but this is another good tool to give your officers when you get started in the beginning of the year. The PowerPoint, we can jump back to that PowerPoint. We talked about Form 1, where we talked a great deal about Form 2 when we actually looked at the application, but this PowerPoint is also very helpful to start off with your students and looking at that and giving you examples of what to put in for a high-quality photo. It's interesting, informative, and don't repeat photos within the application. The photo must be of a chapter activity. And I would say the best thing about photos is, too, the more inclusive, the more members you have, the more it shows what you're doing, the better off it is, rather than just one or two students. So the PowerPoint, another very helpful tool, and then the program overview. And I've opened that document for us, too. And that's just a real quick 2-page document that gives you a lot of just quick answers to how this process works. All of these tools on the National FFA website I think are very helpful. I tried to jump to the ones that I felt as though were most helpful, and I tried to actually look at an application within itself. Now I would like to get to your questions. What questions do you have? What things can we do from our end to help you through this process? Okay, so that's a fair amount of silence there, and I understand that. Maybe we've answered everything within this FFA Center chat. But again, for those of you who are section chairs, those of you who are FFA board reps, those of you who are having conversations with any fellow teachers in your sections, in your areas, please reassure everyone, do not wait till the last minute to get started on this. The application is new this year. It has a new set of challenges, and you need to be prepared for some of the things that we've highlighted that are different within the application. And I wanted to make sure we touched upon that now, hopefully giving you plenty of time to get that done. Hopefully many of you have already started this process. And as we look, when I looked at Application Manager, it does look like many chapters have started, and I'm very excited that you have. But as you have questions, don't hesitate to click on the links where you can get more help, or don't hesitate to reach out to us. But we will be giving you more information as it gets closer, when to get those, how to submit those via PDF to the email. We'll send all of that out. Any questions? any final or possible potential questions we may have. Be sure to share with your friends and neighbors. It's new, and don't wait to the last minute. Thank you all very much. I will stop recording at this time, and we will have the webinar posted on our YouTube page very quickly. So thank you very much for calling in. Everyone have a great day.